Robert Frost said that half the world is composed of people who have something to say but can't say it, and the other half is composed of people who have nothing to say and keep saying it. So hopefully within about 15 minutes here, we'll be able to help both sides of the story. So they wanted a German theme, so I went ahead and did some beer. So we're talking about spreading happiness at work by communicating. So, this is about talking about happiness. This is not, someone joked about they like to escape, right? Like to escape for happiness. So this isn't really about escaping for happiness. This is about really engaging for it. So some about me. I'm an IT security analyst for PLM based in Philadelphia, but I work here in Indy, a property and casualty insurance company. So as you can see, just communication-related roles. I have several roles where I get to practice what I'm doing, and then some other hobbies down there. I know as an audience member, I like to know some about the speaker. So if this helps, great. If not, we're done. Okay, going on. So happiness, what we're not talking about with this. We're not talking about all these different things. We're not talking about you changing your culture at work. We're not talking about trying to get a new title or trying to do anything corporately. We're trying to work with coworkers, trying to get with coworkers and communicate better as we go along the way. So it's something that each of us can do and we can improve. And it's not about, I'm sure there's no policy that you're going to come across that says you may not do this, you may not communicate better. So what is happiness? I'm getting a cue really from the Declaration of Independence, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now happiness, yes, you can get happiness from doing yoga for an hour, and that's a good thing. You can do that, but that's not really what it's talking about. A big aspect of it there, the pursuit of happiness, has to do really with success. So I think of Calvin and Gabrielle with what they do with IndyPy. I'm sure it's a lot of work, and a whole lot goes into it, a whole lot of thought, a whole lot of meetings. But when they go to bed at night, I'm sure there's a sense of purpose. They have done something. Gabrielle mentioned it earlier. They want to do even more for the community. So doing things for others and succeeding. So my definition here is positive emotions gained from success. And that's what we're helping our coworkers do throughout this. Spreading happiness through communicating better. So some principles to keep in mind as we get into this. So as you see from the Zen of Python, we're all familiar with it. So simplicity. The simpler we can make our communications. I don't know if you've ever done projects or tasks, had tickets that are just complicated and they're buried under all kinds of who knows whatever it wants to be. But simple is better complex, but complex is better than complicated. So the simpler we can make our communications, the better. Consider the time, not the effort. If you think about all the times maybe in communication, I almost need sunglasses up here. That's a great light. I like that. I'm going to dodge over here just a moment. If you think about all the times throughout the day, should I send that email? Should I call that person? Should I do this? Well, you've thought about it 20 times throughout the day. If you had just done it earlier, it would have taken 2 minutes. We think about the effort that it might take. Oh, this will take a lot. But if you consider the time is probably often very short for what you would be able to communicate. And then technology is for people. This is where the right brain really comes into play here. It's easy to get involved in technology. I do it in security. People do it in operations. They have meetings. And you probably do it as developers. You get into the code. But remember that all the technology is for people. We're doing it for and with people. So some about communication. As I've thought about communication, there are a couple ways. One, you can just not communicate. So no communication. Okay, none goes on. You can't do that well or not well. You just don't communicate. But that leaves people wondering. They don't know if you're angry. They don't know if you're happy. They don't know if you're just ignoring them. So we want to do a little better. So there's another aspect. Then there's actually communicating. So you can do it imperfectly, which is better than perfectly, which I've got here. So we at least want to do imperfectly. We at least want to talk to people in one way or another. If we can do it perfectly, that's when it's timely. I don't know if anybody ever does this, but we want to be timely. We want to be informative. We want whatever we have to be useful. So imperfect or perfect. But even as I thought of this, thinking through various interactions I've had over the years, some people are just mean. You know, they do communicate, but it's not imperfect or perfect. Some people are just mean. So I hope you never have to do that or never work on that. So some areas about communication there. So some attitudes that we need to have as we're communicating with other people. One is humility. Humility, in this case, what I'm talking about, is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at, right? If you just know what you're good at, that's arrogance, and it comes across that way. But to be humble, yeah, you might be good at what you do, but also realize as you talk to other clients, customers, coworkers, that you're good at what you do, but you're not good at what they do. And maybe that can help when we communicate with others, because maybe they're annoying us all the time, and we think, I know this stuff. Why don't they know that? But then realize, well, turn it around. What if you had to ask a question about them? It may be that you are no good in their field, and if you turn that around, it can be humbling. Sometimes it can be humiliating. So humility is an attitude to have. Another one is understanding. Understanding is knowing someone else's situation. So, for example, if you're talking to the CEO, you may not be a co-CEO, but you know that a CEO, they have lots to do. They don't have time. Typically, executive support, they go to the top. Whatever they want, they get, because they're running the company. They're paying your mortgage, right? They're paying for our houses and everything. So understanding that they are busy and tailoring your communication and your attitude that way. Empathy. So this goes a little further than understanding, where you actually relate to the person. We've all been on vacation a week or two and come back and then been swamped with emails. And we wonder why the person on the other end doesn't immediately respond to our email when we ping them for information. If we were empathetic, we would actually be in their shoes. We would actually live. We would think back, okay, they just got back from 2 weeks of vacation. They're swamped. They won't get to my stuff until tomorrow. So it can take the tension off. It's like the thing, to be empathetic. You walk a mile in someone's shoes to understand what they're like. Now, there's a benefit to that, because once they know what you've done, you've got their shoes and you're a mile away. So actions we can take. So we've been principles, attitudes, and now we're going to some practical actions. Check in with people. People like to talk. Not everybody does, but lots and lots of people do. And they like to talk to someone who will listen, someone who's not just munching on the phone, or snoozing, or scratching their beard, or whatever it might be when you're on the phone. And if you can't talk, at least text updates are fine. People like to talk back and forth. A perfect example was this morning. One of our business development representatives was having trouble, so I called her. She was in another state. And so this was 6 o'clock this morning. And I could have emailed back and forth. She'd put in a ticket. I happened to see it, and it didn't have to. But even though we didn't fix it, she was just thrilled that I called. She just thanked me so much. So people like to talk. After all these years with help desk, I don't know if anybody does help desk, any kind of support, but after all these years, you'll see the Gartner reports for it. People love to talk. And give details. In your communications and tickets, I don't know what kind you use. We use Zendesk, maybe you use Jira. I don't know what all it is. But give details in there. That helps a whole lot. So you want to remove the white space and eliminate confusion in any of the details, any of your communications, whether there's an email, a ticket update, phone call, whatever it might be. So a little meditative moment away from the normal screen here. This was a haiku I made. So documentation is a necessary pain. The future loves you. Yes, thank you. This helps so much. It's so annoying for everybody, right? Nobody's happy when you go into a ticket and they said, I fixed it. Or you get an email, done. Well, thank you. We get 20 of these and we have no idea what anybody did or what anybody said or who talked about what or what the real problem was. So now the final question. It's helpful. Anything that you have here, anything that's been helpful. What one thing will you change to spread happiness at work? Thank you.